Okay, we are off and running. Hello, Nicole.
Hello, Sean.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. And I'm especially good because you were the first guest that I've had on in, I don't know, maybe a dozen episodes that I've actually seen in person in
Yeah.
the recent past, because I saw you at the Snowdown Throwdown. But you are literally the first person in, I think, the last dozen episodes that I've actually seen in person. So,
oh, wow, that's nice.
Even though we're recording this via Zoom, I can actually tell people who are watching this that I actually know that Nicole exists and she is not artificial intelligence. So
in the metaverse somewhere.
Exactly. Well, we'll soon be there. So who are we kidding?
Yeah.
So we got a lot to talk about because there's a lot of things have actually happened to you shortly after we talked last time. But I also want to focus this on you're getting prepped for the 2022 CrossFit Games season and what have you. And I made a joke about one of the videos that you posted that I'm going to make again on this just to have it on the record. So first, I want to thank you for doing this. I've looked forward to this for the last few months. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Welcome back to Did You Know That? ? The channel where I get to talk to interesting people about interesting and sometimes annoying topics. And this is not going to be annoying. This is going to be a very interesting conversation. And if you're into CrossFit or if you're into working out, this is one lady that you want to be following just for inspirational purposes. And we'll figure out why in just a minute. So when I'm not talking to interesting people, wait, first of all, I got to introduce myself. My name's Sean O'Rourke. And I'm the host of this channel. When I'm not hosting this channel, I am a cyber liability consultant for an insurance brokerage firm headquartered in New York City. So Nicole, you get to tell the fine folks who you are.
Hello, everybody. If you didn't watch my last episode,
shame on you.
Soto. Yeah, seriously. But yeah, I'm Nicole Soto. I am a CrossFit athlete and an entrepreneur. I've started my own business and focused primarily on health coaching, life coaching, nutrition, and habit building. And I'm a wife, I'm a dog mom, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited for you to be here. Oh, and just because I forgot to tell everybody, make sure you subscribe down there and hit the bell so that you'll get notified when new content like this interview with Nicole goes online. Okay, now that the perfunctories are out of the way. So if you haven't seen the last interview with Nicole, you should go back and check it out. But shortly after we recorded that, you had quite a few changes in your life. And so why don't you tell the folks what you were doing at that point and what you're doing now, and then we'll get into the athletic side of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So last time we spoke, I was running a gym, my own CrossFit gym, Rise Athletics. The gym is still there and it's still operating. It's being run by Chad Gross. Now he was my partner at the time, and now it's solely his. And I had just gotten to the point where it was time for me to branch out and do my own thing. There were a lot of things that I wanted to do and I was not able to just because of how much time that it takes to run a gym, do all the operations, the management, the programming, customer service, and all the behind the scenes stuff that nobody really knows about while trying to be an athlete and, launch my own sort of nutrition programming and health coaching stuff. It was just a lot. So I decided to step back and really focus on the things that are really speaking to me and what I felt like was my purpose here. And that's just really health coaching, life coaching, and nutrition and habit building. Right. So it was October, the month that I left. And I just wanted to see if I could do this on my own and really focus all in on it. So October was kind of crazy for me because I'm such like a structured and routine person. And I went from, complete structure, my days, training, coaching, programming, the whole thing. every single day for, over a year at that gym, and to literally making my own schedule and having a lot less to do, like almost, but like a lot to do. It was
Right. Yeah.
weird. So I took October sort of as like a hiatus in my training. I still worked out every day, but the intention wasn't really there. And to be honest, I didn't know what was going to happen as far as me being an athlete for the season ahead, just because I was so focused on launching these other things that I wanted to, that took a back seat, and that was happening at the gym too. So that always was put on the side for me, like myself, I was putting it to the side. Um, and then I sort of snapped out of it. I got a routine going. I got some things launched that I wanted to. And for myself, like business and clients started to pick up kind of rapidly. And I found a really nice groove and a rhythm for my new schedule. I started building a gym in my garage. So I was able to get some of my programming done in the garage without having to like travel to a gym now.
Sure.
So that made my life a lot easier. And I knew in my heart that I wasn't done being an athlete. I needed to compete again this year. And I'm really excited about this year. I'm happy with how it's going. So yeah, since then, now I'm flying solo. I've got my own thing I'm building right now. And it's taking time, as you can imagine.
Oh, sure.
And a lot of meetings, a lot of talking with people, and trying to learn, because there's so much that I don't know about building my own brand. I know what I want to do, but I need the experts in those specific areas to help me do those things. And I'm learning a lot. So like this week coming up, I've got some meetings set up with marketing and branding companies, and just trying to fine tune some of the stuff so that I can really put it out there into the world and be ready for it when it comes.
Nice. So, by the way, anything that Nicole talks about today that she wants to sort of promote or give you more information on will be in the episode details down below. So make sure you scroll down after you're done watching this to check it out. So along those lines, how do you envision this new enterprise that you're launching working for you? I mean, what are you hoping to accomplish, not only for yourself, but obviously for your clients?
Yeah, it's big for me. It's really big, because this one is like what really speaks to my heart. I've been through a lot of things in my life, and I want to help people in general build better habits, break the bad ones, and allow them to live the lives that they truly want. So what I was noticing, like through my nutrition clients, is most of the sessions, like we would laugh about, but most of the sessions were turning into like therapy sessions, where it was like, okay, you're not just here to talk about nutrition, which most of the time it's not. There's
Right.
reasons why you get to the state that you're in, where you're searching for a perfect nutrition plan or a health coach of some sort. And sometimes the client doesn't even know why. They just know that something needs to change, and they don't know what it is. So that was sort of like my entryway to get to know people. And then they got to know me, and we share stories. And I have my initial consultation where I sort of like dig deep into people's history of their health and their background, their childhood, and their habits and things like that. And I found that like most of the people would just like stop, like out of nowhere, 3 or 4 weeks in, they just stopped. Like we were doing really well, you're like getting healthy, and here we go, and like we're in motion, and then a holiday happens or something goes wrong, and then we're back to comfort eating or whatever their habits are. And I was like, all right, this is bigger than that, and I want to be able to help them. It's always been my mission, even when I was at the gym, to inspire people, to influence them, to impact them in a really big way, so that they feel excited about life, and they feel confident enough to go out there into the world and live their best life and live out loud like who they are. And it's hard for a lot of people. There's a lot of
Sure.
obstacles in their
Mhm.
way. So what I envision is big. Like I see myself doing seminars, and not just on nutrition. It's bigger. It's more about forming habits, how they're formed, how to break them, and getting to like the root cause of why we do certain things that we do. And how to go step by step in changing your habits so that you can change your life and learn whatever habits that you want to build, whatever that is. If it's, to wake up in the morning and get coffee ready for your significant other, like that's a habit that maybe you want to start doing to make them feel better. Okay, how do you do that? And so
Right.
I want to be there to help people create better habits and break the ones that are not serving them anymore, so they can become this person that they've always dreamed of being.
Well, and we talked about this last time. I mean, your background is nutrition. So essentially what you're doing is sort of expanding out to why nutrition is so hard for a lot of people. I mean, I heard a statistic yesterday that I don't know why I was surprised. I shouldn't have been surprised. But last year, 2021, 100,000 Americans died of complications from diabetes.
Oh,
And not just type 1 diabetes, type 1 and type 2 diabetes. There was no breakdown as to whether it was 1 or 2, but it's 100,000 people, which was, I forget, I think it was a double-digit percentage growth from 2020.
wow.
And I mean, and then I'm sure once we do a postmortem on COVID, especially pre-vaccine, that a lot of people who really proved susceptible to COVID, and with serious illness or death as the result, also obviously had comorbidities, and diabetes or unhealthy factors are going to play into that. And I think your message is going to be, if people take it seriously, are going to be vitally important to get out there for people who do want to make the change. And so that's my soapbox moment of
Yeah.
this episode, I promise.
That's
But
wild. That's a crazy statistic.
it
That's a
is,
crazy number to think about.
yeah, 100,000 people from one disease. And obviously, I mean, that and heart disease are ones that, granted, one and certain genetic factors for heart disease you can't control, but for type 2 diabetes and other factors of heart disease, it comes down to what you just talked about.
Yeah, your habits.
Habits, being better nutrition, exercise. I mean, you don't have to work out like you,
No.
but you do have to move. The human body was made to move.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to insert the joke here that I made before I hit record. I
Oh yeah.
watched a video. I watched what you posted on Instagram of you and another CrossFit athlete, Chris Harris, who also lives out by you, working out. And I told you I threw up just watching the video. So you don't have to work out like that, but you do have to move with some purpose and intensity.
Yeah, for
And so let's talk about a little bit. So what are your plans this year? What are your, obviously you have expectations as an athlete that we'll get to, but as a business owner starting a business, what are your plans for this year?
So my plans for this year are to really start building the foundation of what the mission will be for Soto Strong.
Oh, I
And
like that.
yes, and for getting the right people in the right places, and having the right people at the table for conversations to make sure that I'm doing this in the right way. I know what I want, but again, like I didn't understand like how to take it to the next level. So now like these next few weeks are going to be about really critical conversations on how to take this brand to the next level, or to the ultimate place that I want to take it, and make sure that I have the right team of people around me to support that and help me through. That's also like really important to me, that the relationships that I'm building and forming around this, um, I need to feel supported. I need to feel trust. And so
Sure.
far I do. Like Power Core Strength, Dana and Todd, the owners of that company, and I are going to be merging. So they'll be part of this, because that will just be a branch of my nutrition and supplementation. We'll be adding to that line now moving forward about all the stuff that I take to help with stress in the body and stuff that comes from outside the environment, inside my body, mental, physical stress, all that stuff, and sort of how I balance it throughout the week with all the stuff that we have going on.
Sure.
So
well, you've made a massive fan of Power Core out of my wife. I mean,
oh yeah,
she is religious about it. She doesn't work out before she has, I don't know what her concoction is and whatnot, that I see her mixing up. But I mean, she is without a doubt she'll give you a great review on that front, because she is, I'm not kidding, we don't leave for the gym until she's had that.
Oh, it's so yummy. And we've got amino acids that are coming out now, which I'm really excited about because they're just so good. Like I just want to drink it every day. So it helps. It makes it a little bit easier when the healthy things actually taste good. So
right.
Yeah. So yeah, these next few weeks, months, probably, as I'm learning, it's going a little bit slower than I thought it would. It's just going to be about having the right conversations and, step by step building the brand, creating an app, hopefully, that will allow people to engage in some habit challenges and some nutrition challenges and things like that. So it will be very interactive, because I've also learned that while everything is pretty much online now, interaction is still really important, and holding people accountable, like having an accountability coach, is really important. So I don't want to lose touch with people. So while I'm expanding and I would like to touch a lot more people around the world, I still want to be able to have the one-on-one conversations and accountability with other people.
Well, I mean, you look at what you do for a living as an athlete. Gamifying anything is sort of gets to hopefully a competitive aspect to changing your life for the better. And let's use that as a natural segment to start talking about your life as an athlete, because obviously you're saying over the next few weeks and a few months, you're going to be focused a lot on getting a business off the ground, getting a brand, which is like carrying a 2-ton weight on your back, off the ground and solidified. But also in less than 3 weeks, as of this recording, you're going to have to do the first workout for the 2022 CrossFit season in the open. So, so that's why that workout I saw you and Chris doing, I mean, I was not a huge fan of it, but I would have done it at a much slower pace and lighter weights than you two did. So let's talk about that. So in October, you said you basically worked out but didn't train.
Yeah.
So what's the difference to you as a CrossFit athlete versus me as a CrossFit practitioner? What is the difference to you between just working out and then training? Is it intensity? Is it the number of workouts per day? Is it the length? Is it what? How does that differ? What's the difference between those two?
Yeah. So I would say for me, when I am training to compete, every session that I have is like very intentional. Like I'm calculating my numbers. I am analyzing my reps. If it's like 25 handstand push-ups, I am making a plan to do them efficiently so that I am, beating my last score. I'm constantly in competitor mode, trying to do the work efficiently and effectively, and making sure that I'm getting better every single time. And as a competitor, sometimes it's turning it on even when you don't want to. So like, that's tough. That's like a whole nother realm that you've got to go to. And it doesn't matter how you feel. You've got to show up and you've got to give it everything you've got, because this is what you're training for. You're training to compete. And again, like, you don't know how you're going to feel on the floor when you actually do come to a competition. You don't have any choice. You just have to get through it. So I'm a bit harder on myself when I'm a competitor. I definitely set some high standards. I'm a disciplined person as it is, but when it comes to competing and training like that, I mean, I go to bed at exactly the same time every single day. I wake up at the same exact time. I'm eating the same exact foods at the same exact time every single day. I am dialed in, I am calculated, and I am obsessed. I am fully immersed in it. I want to watch videos. I'm watching the best of the best, and I'm teaching myself how to be like that and get in that headspace. It is like a place that I go to that, like, I try not to do too often, because I just am like tunnel vision, and I don't have much time for anything else. And I am misunderstood by a lot of people and some close friends, because they don't truly understand what it takes. And that's just how I've been able to be successful, is like to fully immerse myself and to be completely present in this one thing when I'm doing it. That doesn't mean like when I'm outside, I'm doing it, I can be a wife, I could still go see my parents, and I do have a good balance, but that is the number one thing on my plate. And every single thing that I do, every decision, every single thing that I do needs to add to that and not take away from it. So it's a lot. It's a lot on the mind. It's a lot on, all my family and my husband, of course, because they're on the journey with me. They know, okay, Nicole's got to eat at this time, and we got to go to bed at this time. So it's a lot. Everyone's on a schedule.
Sure. Well, and let's be fair. The business that you're trying to start is predicated on the fact that people know you as an athlete. Now, for those who do know you outside of the athletics, you have an extensive background in nutrition and health and whatnot. But for the most part, the brand is predicated on Nicole, the athlete, who could do that amazing workout and not die on there. So to that end, you have to be that kind of discipline. There's no great athlete that I've ever met or talked to or heard talk who says, oh yeah, I just wing it. Whatever happens, and I'm good to go. Nobody's ever said that and been near the top of the sport like you are.
Yeah. And it's true. Like, there are some people too that will say like, oh, I just want to have fun, and like, make sure you're having fun and all this other stuff. And like, yes, we're having fun. Like, I love CrossFit. I love it so much. I can't picture my life without it. It's brought so many great things into my life. But at the end of the day, like, you've got to be real. There are some things that are just not fun, and you've got to do it. And so when you want to compete and you want to be successful in it, and whatever that success is for you, like, for some people it's getting a trophy. For me, it's making sure that I gave it every single thing that I had, and not, having any regrets at the end. Like, you have to sometimes let go of having fun and, being nice and making friends on the competition floor. And you have to just go out there like a junkyard dog and give it everything you got, and don't let anyone get yours, kind of thing.
Right.
So like, you want to have fun, but also it's like a mentality switch that happens. And I'm learning that too. 'Cause the last time we spoke, I remember talking to you about not knowing how to tap into that, or not being able to confidently say, I am a CrossFit athlete, like a professional athlete. And I've worked on that so much this year, like this season and going into it too. I've worked so hard on my mindset and, putting myself in these places now that I understand it even more. So when I'm training now, I'm tapping into potential that I never even knew that I had. And that's just because I've blocked down these walls that I had and I built up and didn't think was me. And so it's been really cool. And of course, like, being around an athlete like Christian and being able to train next to him, it pulls it out of you naturally. You're just like, you're in this great environment, and you're both pushing towards something that you both want, and it just brings you to places you never thought you could.
Well, and that was one thing I did want to focus on in this episode, because we didn't touch on it as much as I wanted to in the first one, because there was so much to talk about. But the mentality that you have to have while you're training, and you talked about it in terms of that discipline, you eat at the same time, you eat at the same food, you sleep at the same patterns and whatnot. But CrossFit is a very individualistic sport. I mean, unless you're on a team, even if you're on a team, it's still an individual that has to do the work as 1/4 of that team. But you, as a going as an individual there, talk about that mentality that you had before. What was the restrictor plates that you had on yourself, you think, that you don't think you're going to have on yourself at this point? Because you were at the games. So obviously you had the talent to make the games, but you're looking at it as you could get even better than when you did make the games. So what do you think mentally was your restrictor plate that you think you've gotten rid of for this season?
A lot of it had to do with me not feeling like I was good enough or that I belonged amongst those athletes. And I believe it primarily came from like my background. Like I worked in a hospital for 10 years. Like I wasn't primarily an athlete, and I loved coaching. So for me, it was like helping others bring that out in them. And then when I turned that around and gave a little bit to me and was doing like what I tell my clients to do, or like these up and coming young guys that I train and program for, and I'm pulling it out of them, I turned that back on me and pulled it out of me and was like, no, this is, you belong at this table and you've prepared and you're doing the work. So it's not that any one person is better than you or more talented than you, or maybe they are, but I put in the same amount of work, if not more. So I deserve to be just as much part of it as anyone else.
Right.
And so instead of looking at it as a coach, like I would be in the middle of a workout next to my best friend and I'd be like pushing her in the middle of my workout, when really like I need to be focused on me and what I'm doing and my reps and my task. And it doesn't matter where I end up on the other side. I had to shift my focus from outside to inside. I was so focused on helping other people get there that I took a back seat to it all.
So you have to be a little bit selfish.
You do. Yes, you do. And sometimes that can be taken the wrong way. But I'm learning too that, it's a good example to my clients is when you set a goal and you want to do something, there are some boundaries that you need to set, and you have to put a certain, expectation or a standard on yourself. And you have to live that every single day. And you may lose some friends along the way, and that's okay. Maybe this is part of the growing process and they're just not at your level yet. And you'll have friends that will still support you, but never grow with you, that just be there and love you for you and what you're doing and support you, but never really take the next step. And that's okay. But it does become kind of lonely because you are doing what you need to do to accomplish the goal. And if people can't understand why you're doing what you're doing, you could come off as being really very selfish and like self-absorbed.
Well, and I mean, again, hearkening back, I don't think I've ever heard or talked to any athlete who wasn't selfish. If they had a real objective of going as far as they could possibly go.
Yes.
The perfect example is Tom Brady. I mean, he's just retired at 44 years old. He had to be selfish for 22 years to win 7 Super Bowls, to get to, how many championship games, 14, I think. So in that sense, do you think people look at him and say, okay, it's okay for him to do it because he's on national TV and what have you. But then they look at you and they think, well, CrossFit's not really a sport, is it? Do you think it's just the mentality about their perception of the sport? And maybe that's where they think, okay, well, it's not really real.
Yeah, I think that absolutely plays a part in it, especially for people who are not in CrossFit and don't understand it, or are not part of a CrossFit gym. Like, they truly don't understand. There are times when I don't understand, like, I'm not waking up and getting paid to do this sport, it's just feeding everything else that I'm trying to do, So I do think that for sure people don't take it as seriously as someone like Tom Brady in the NFL. It's just not at that level for normal people in the world. But for people like us, when we are like, wow, like CrossFit Games, that's like our NFL, and we understand it. But people who've never experienced it, they don't know, they don't understand.
And it's hard to explain to people the community of CrossFit, because a lot of people, and we talked about this last time, a lot of people refer to it as a cult, and it's not. It's a community of CrossFit, and it's not just because everybody suffers the workout. I've come to think of it, it's because the people who are willing to suffer through that workout, that shows me something more than people who just say, oh, I'm a fan of it, but not a practitioner.
Yes. Because this is funny, because going into like somebody who's just an everyday like CrossFitter who takes a class, like I sit back and I watch the athletes taking class, and they're pushing just as hard in a workout as I am. It's funny. It's like this shared mentality. It's just that they're choosing to come in and push themselves for 1 hour a day, not care about their scores or anything, just really test themselves physically and mentally. And then they get to leave and go on about their day. Whereas someone like me, yes, I'm pushing to that place, maybe not all the time, because there are some days where you just got to get in there, get some work done. It's not always going to be about breathing heavy or dying on the floor. It's about quality work, but I'm still calculating every single thing and making sure that, eating enough calories, and like I hit every single number I was supposed to hit, and I'm talking about it, and it's consuming my mind and my day. So we share across the board, whether you're a beginner or you're an advanced athlete, we share that same mentality of just wanting to see what we're truly capable of and pushing ourselves beyond our limits. And I think that's why we all bond so much. We're passionate humans, and and we love the work, and we're not afraid of it. Like we go all in. And when you're around other people sharing that experience, it's only natural that you're going to bond and you're going to create these ties with people that are almost family-like. And there's nothing like it out there.
Well, I hearken it back to, so I mentioned that I saw you at the Snowdown Throwdown, which was an amateur competition of which I participated.
That's the second one you did this year, right?
Yes, yeah. And so I participated with a partner. It was a male-female partner competition. And I partnered up with a woman who's infinitely better at CrossFit than I am. And so it was funny that everybody, when they saw certain movements or workout pieces, everybody immediately had the same reactions. So the barbell, the heavy lifting, everybody was excited for it, because everybody just loves to hear that weight hit the ground and saying, I got that.
That's great.
But then you'd show them the assault bike, and everybody just thought, I'm going to die. And it was universal. And then you saw the burpees over the bar, and that's my least favorite movement, is burpees of any kind, except I'm okay with devil's press. It's kind of weird, but burpees just are horrible exercises. But everybody who saw that just thinking, oh God, just get through them and be done with them.
Yeah.
But it's that, so to your point, it's that universality of willing to do what you really are uncomfortable doing just to get a marginally better today than you were yesterday.
Yes. And I also feel like it can be exported to every aspect of your life too. And that's the stuff that most people underestimate. It's like you're getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. You're learning how to adapt to certain situations and things. And when you can take those skills that you're learning in the gym and apply it to your outside life, you won't be as affected or as hurt as somebody who has not been exposed to that. It's like you don't know how strong you are until you're tested. And that goes like inside the gym and outside of the gym. And when you're doing that inside the gym, that same principle can be applied to outside world. So I love how it can just be, exported to all aspects of life. It doesn't just end in those four walls. And that's like why I love CrossFit so much.
Well, that's why I'm confident that your new venture is going to be tremendously successful, because I know how ridiculously strong you are and gymnastically flexible and what have you. So that I have no doubt on. But I do want to finish up on the mental portion, because I do want to ask this. There is currently on the women's side of CrossFit individual, a GOAT, basically the Tom Brady of women's CrossFit right now. And her name's Tia-Clair Toomey.
Yeah.
She's won 5 straight CrossFit Games. She won the Rogue Invitational this past off season after doing nothing but training for bobsled to try to make the Australian Olympic team. So I would ask you this. It's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's also goes back to your point about motivation and what have you. But do you have a picture of Tia-Clair Toomey on a dartboard that you throw darts at in between training sessions and whatnot?
No.
Or is that not your motivation? Is there something else that motivates you beyond just sort of saying, hey, I want to wear the gold medal at the CrossFit Games?
Yes. I actually, this is funny. My husband knew more about CrossFit than I did and the people involved in it, even when I first started. I never went into it looking at other athletes as idols or somebody that I wanted to beat or go after. To me, it was a fight. I always tell people, like, I want to be strong for those who can't be. I've been in abusive relationships. I lost my brother at a very young age. So I've been through a lot of things in my life that I've had to like overcome. And I'm also aware that I'm not the first person that's happened to, but there are a lot of people that just stay quiet about these things and suffer, and they won't come out and talk about it. They don't have the courage. They don't have the strength. So for me, like, my why is to fight for people who just can't fight. And it has always been an expression of self in some way, shape, or form, like to show the world that, women can be strong, and to show them that no matter what you're going through in this life, like, yes, you have to go through it. You also need to grow through it. You can't just skip it. You can't sit in the corner because life keeps going. Like, you've got to get up, and are you willing to get up and take those steps every single day just to become stronger and better overall? So yeah, like when I'm out there and I'm fighting, I'm thinking about all the pain points that I've been through. I'm thinking about my brother. I trust that I will see him again one day, and I want to make him proud. I want to make my mom proud, because to go through what we went through as a family, and my mom has a lot of guilt, and she still walks around with it, and she's doing very well. She's an amazing woman. But to show her that, she produced a strong young woman who didn't give up and will not give up and will live this life with a really big smile on their face, like that, to me, I know it makes her happy. that like, yes, we went through this and she feels terrible that this happened to me. You know, my brother was my best friend. But I'm happy and I'm living and I'm showing the world that like I am strong and you can get through anything in this life. You literally can get through anything if you just put your mind to it, and you can accomplish anything. And so if I give up, what is the incentive for a regular person in class to keep going, let alone a young girl who's in an abusive relationship, you know, behind closed doors and won't speak out? Like, there's so much more to it. Like, I want to show you that you can go through things, find an outlet for it, and use that as a form of expression and heal through it. So
And right now, somebody's going to be watching this. You just know this, and hopefully they're going to take this to heart and get inspired and hear the Rocky theme in the background and start their own habits, good habits, change their lives from a habit perspective. Because really, at the end of the day, most of life is just habits. And it's just stuff you do every day. And instead of making that choice, maybe you make this choice. And that if you make that choice every day, you'll be the better for it every day. So, okay, so we've talked about the mental side. I want to talk about the physical side of CrossFit, because when everybody sees it, the first thing they say is, one, you're nuts, which we kind of are.
Yeah.
But two, they marvel at the physicality and the overall aspects of what CrossFitters can do. And that's why my definition of athlete has definitely changed since I started watching the games back in like 2012 and what have you. But you made the semifinals last year. And so you were one of the top female athletes in the world last year. This year, the structure is basically the same. You have the Open, which is 3 weeks, quarterfinals a month later, a month after that, the semifinals, and then in the beginning of August, you have the CrossFit Games. Do you set yourself a goal or an expectation going into this season? This is a bit still mental, but we're going to get to the physical part. Have you set an expectation or a goal for yourself? You don't have to say it out loud because it's like a birthday wish. You can't say it out loud or else it won't come true. But have you set one for yourself for this season?
Yes.
Okay.
And every season I have done that. If anybody ever looks me up, I've only done, this will be like this is my third Open. And even though I've been doing CrossFit since 2015, 16, this is only my third Open. And every single time I've signed up for it, I had an intention.
Okay. But don't tell us. You got to keep it a secret, because we're going to have you back on throughout the year. I'm going to hunt you down, even with everything you have going on, to have you on, because this is going to be a very interesting journey. Because last year you killed it. You got to the semifinals. When you look back at yourself on those workouts in the semifinals, I know you always give 100%, but do you go back and do you look at it and then critique on, I should have been more strategic here, I had a little bit more gas to give here, or maybe I should have throttled back a little bit here to save some? Do you do those postmortems to try to help you prepare for this season?
Yes. And sometimes too much, like,
yeah, well,
I can be so overly critical of myself, of course, but to be honest, looking back is what gave me a lot of fuel to go back again this year, because you don't really see yourself like that. You're just in the moment and you're doing whatever you think, and it's very chaotic on that floor. And it was my first time as an individual out there. So I knew last year that I had a lot to learn, and I just wanted to get out there for the experience. And then, of course, like my coach, Sam Smith, and I sat down afterwards and we went through each event And even then, when we went through each event, it wasn't the same as me actually watching myself through each event. And I'm looking at it like, why are you not running to that rope? Like, what are we doing? I was going nuts at myself.
Right.
Like, what? Why am I walking? I can run. I can jog, slow jog. Here I am walking. It drove me so mad that like my training this year, I've been practicing like how you play in every single session. There is no walking. There's a slow jog or there's some type of hustle. I have approached every single workout differently now since I've replayed those events. I also
but let me stop you there real quick, because I do that myself, and I'm not a games athlete, but I do that myself. But I want to make sure that, because then I have to remind myself how I felt at that moment versus how I felt an hour later.
It's true. I mean, that's
Because
very true. Yeah.
let's be honest, sometimes you gotta walk because there's no jog left in you at that moment.
No, it's true.
So
But
are you able to really remember how you felt and why you were walking versus jogging, and be honest about that?
yes.
Okay.
Like I remember thinking I was walking to the rope on the last workout because I was afraid that my arms were going to be too tired and I wasn't going to be able to pull. So like the walk was my active like rest kind of.
Sure.
But, you know, in hindsight, like I need to trust myself more. Rope climbs for me are a big strength. I can do a rope climb if I'm not warm. I could do handstand push-ups like if I'm not warm. It's
God, I'm so jealous.
they're just like the two things in my wheelhouse. Like every athlete like has their thing, whether it's running, whether it's rowing, it's squatting, like whatever it is. Those are my things. So even my coach said like where were you? Like that's your thing. That was your time to shine.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I put that in my pocket. I'm like, you're right. So now anytime I see a workout with like a toaster bar, handstand push-ups, rope climbs, I'm like, all I say to myself is shine, because I'm really good at that. So like have fun, smile, shine, do your thing. That's my thing. And if there's a heavy barbell, I might need a second because like I'm not the strongest on the field, but like those things I need to be more confident in, and I need to approach it like that. The same way Tia, you know, approaches every single thing. She's confident. There's no waver in her, you know, mentality or anything. If she's out on that floor, she is crushing it. She's confident in her capabilities, her abilities. And I needed to tap into that more. So in watching it, I could see like the little girl almost that like is in there is like kind of like timid or like not sure. And I was like, no, like I'm not that person. I know I could climb the rope. Like, so watching it back definitely was good for me. And I do that. I do that every day. I do it all the time.
So will you go back before, let's say, the open starts? Will you go back and look at those anymore, or are you done doing postmortems of last year and you're just focused on, okay, I got less than 3 weeks now, I'm raring to go?
It's I learned from it, put it away, and now every day is just like growing and building. I had like the great opportunity to go to West Coast Classic too and watch some of the best athletes out there.
Sure.
And
that was a great competition.
oh man, that was crazy. Yeah, they really put on a nice competition. But watching some of the best girls on the field, like the top 5 girls, watching them move and how they approach certain things was like being in a classroom for me, because I got to see, you know, how to be more efficient in barbell cycling or transitions from one movement to the next. And you know, while I'm there to have a good time, I'm also there studying, because there's something that they're doing that I'm not doing and I need to learn. And the only way for me to learn while not being in the same gym as these people and not having a coach in my face every single day is to watch them and then just try it. So like this is the obsession part that I'm talking about. It's like it's all I'm watching, it's all I'm talking about, it's all I'm trying to read about, and I want to learn from the best of the best. So I'm constantly on YouTube. And
So let's talk about your training right now, because again, less than 3 weeks ago, the Open, I have no concerns about you making it through to the quarterfinals. So that's not, it's the Open, I think is more of a warm up if you take the whole season as an actual workout and whatnot.
yeah, the way that it's set up now. Yeah.
Yeah. So from that perspective, are you keeping your train? Will you adjust your training between now and the Open to sort of, because you're not going to want to be at peak performance for the Open, but you want to start peaking at the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and obviously the games. So how will your training differ these next 3 weeks versus, I know you're going to make the quarterfinals, so versus that sort of that 4-week window between the end of the Open and the start of the quarterfinals? Will your training be different?
Training gearing up towards the Open, like my coach had me focusing a lot on strength because that's a priority for me. I have to get a little bit stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I have
and when we say stronger, we're talking being able to lift heavy weights. I mean, doing handstand push-ups, obviously you're strong and whatnot, but when you talk stronger, you mean just lifting barbell weights, essentially.
Like consistently hitting 90% of my 1 rep max snatch, clean and jerk, like consistently. That has to be every single week. I've got to be able to hit at least 90%.
Do you do that under fatigue, or do you just do that as?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a little bit of both. And like Coach Sam Smith, he tells me it's like, raise the minimum. So, sometimes I'll start that session. Yeah. You raise the minimums to increase your maximums. And so in order to do that, sometimes we're starting a session with some crazy bike sprints. And that usually for a regular everyday fitness person, like if I'm programming for them, we would never do that. We would never do bike sprints into some heavy lifting. You would do your heavy lifting, do some accessory, and then you would end with that sort of like pain work, we call it, because it just leaves you so depleted if you do it right. Sam will have me do that in the beginning before I'm doing 90% of my lift.
Gotcha.
And, it's just seeing where I'm at, and that's just increasing the minimums. And so yeah, like my programming it's pretty much like right now is a lot of conditioning work, a lot of muscle endurance stuff. It's starting to gear me up towards the Open like workouts, but also leaving components in there like high level gymnastic skills for quarterfinals, because you won't see such high level things like ring muscle ups. Maybe you'll see bar muscle ups, but ring muscle ups, maybe rope climbs and things like that, you won't see until quarterfinals. So he leaves that stuff in there so that I'm still prepared for it when it comes. And that will start to pick up as the Open is coming to a close so that I'm ready for quarterfinals.
Sure.
And then during quarterfinals, he's gearing me up for semifinals. So even though I'm doing those workouts, I'm still having regular training days in that same day.
Gotcha.
That's just my workout of the day, to be honest. So he's not like, okay, take a rest for 3 days and then hit this workout as hard as you can. He still got me doing regularly, program stuff. And then this is my workout of the day.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's definitely different when you get to that level.
How many hours a day are you training now? How many hours do you think you train between the Open and the quarterfinals?
So right now I am in the gym for 5 hours.
Okay.
I do take a 45-minute break in between. But I start at 7 a.m. and then I'm done around like 12.
And how many workouts or engagements will you do while you're at the gym? Because obviously you can't go red line for 5 hours and then recover in just 45 minutes.
No way. So there's usually about 4 or 5 different segments of things that I'm doing. Conditioning, and then there's some type of strength component. There's some type of metcon, and then usually accessory and mobility work.
Gotcha. So the workout that you did with Christian, was that your Metcon? Because that was a long Metcon.
Yeah. So yeah, training with Christian is awesome. Like I have to say, he calls some of his stuff rush fit. And that's just because he himself too juggles so many different things, and he has to get in his training in a certain amount of time. And so he'll put together these things called power hour. So you're just on like a 60-minute clock and you're going through these series of workouts.
Mm-hmm.
And so from 0 to 12, you're doing something. You rest for 5 minutes, and then, 17 to 24, you're doing something else. And you just keep flowing through it. That can be really hard for obviously somebody just starting, because it requires a certain amount of stamina to keep doing that. But it's a great way to get in 1 hour of a lot of volume and a lot of fitness and just like feel good.
And if you want to see 5 minutes go by in the blink of an eye, do those types of workouts.
Yes.
Because that is, I tell people all the time, if you want time to go faster, come work out with me.
Yeah.
Because I'll put it to you this way. There's nothing longer than a minute of doing something at max effort. And there's nothing shorter than a 5-minute rest after that max effort. And then you go again.
Wow, that is so true. Big facts.
Yeah. It's just time seems to stand still when you're trying to max out on a bike, and then it just flows by when you're resting. So
it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. We started calling the Echo bike the drama bike, because
God, yeah.
You get on that thing and you're like, okay, we had 1 minute of work and then 1 minute of rest. And like, oh my gosh, like the drama that happens when you're off the bike, you're just like,
but it is universal in the CrossFit space. There is nobody who says that they like the bike. And if they do say they like it, they're lying. And
they're totally lying.
They're totally lying, because there is nothing good about that bike. In fact, for people who don't know, on Instagram, there's a account called Make WODs Great Again. Yes. And he just, his guy's name is John Woolley, and he just loves to post things about the Echo bike and whatnot and how terrible it is.
He gets it every single time though. Like you read that stuff, you're like, wow, this is so true. He's just saying out loud what all of us are thinking on the inside.
I mean, if you've ever seen a baby try to walk for the first time, that's how most CrossFitters walk after a 30-second sprint on the Echo bike. That's basically it. Okay. So let's, we're almost at an hour. I want to be cognizant of your time. You are in a training session. I do want you to come back during the season and what have you. So I'm going to ask then, because I have to ask everybody in CrossFit this before we close things out. What were your thoughts when you read that Dave Castro was fired? And really, from a practical standpoint, do you expect that to change the way programming works? Maybe not for the Open, but for the rest of the game season?
I was pretty sad. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people had, didn't like him or whatever, but I felt like that was all part of the sport. Like that, even it's like when you go to a family holiday and there's always going to be bickering and drama and this and that. That's part of the holidays,
right.
Like it's part of it. Like Castro was part of it. And so yeah, like I was definitely sad when I heard that. I'm not really sure what the future is going to look like. I appreciated all the work that he did and the programming. I mean, he truly, that was his life's work. So like, you can't take that away from him. I don't know what happened. I try not to get into like the politics of it at all. Just, want to keep doing what I'm doing.
I tell people, I said, look, in every sport is entertainment for the fans. And that's what Dave Castro was. He was the guy you either hated to love or loved to hate.
Yep.
But you could not argue with how this sport evolved from 2007 to obviously last year being his last year, and what he was able to, he says he always wants to test the athletes. Never, he wasn't there to have them beat his workouts. He always wanted to improve on what they could do.
Yes.
And it is, when you look back, I mean, the women's weights now are heavier than the guys' weights were back when this sport first started.
Yes.
And that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all because of all the testing that, you know, he put the athletes through.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be different, but change is good sometimes. And I'm excited for it. I like change.
We shall see. And the last thing I want to ask you, because you talked about young women, what do you make of the fact that Mal O'Brien, Emma Carey, and all the young guns now who all of a sudden are popping up on the individual, mostly on the women's side, are popping up on the individual side of competition? I myself think it is a great sign for the sport, but I wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah. I am like, man, it fires me up. It fires me up. Like, I wish that was me. I wish I found CrossFit at that young age. I trained very closely with these two young girls, Carly and Callista, who are the next up and coming. You'll see them. I usually have them on my Instagram once in a while. Incredible young women, like literally 20 years old. They're running circles around me. They're just incredible, and they're mature, and just the way that they're living is different from like a regular 20-year-old girl, and probably will stay on the right path forever. Like, they've just got some habits that are so embedded right now that it's impossible for them to ever shake it. And what you do in your 20s is so critical for the rest of your life. So watching these young girls is just giving me so much like hope and excitement for the future, because, you know, maybe one day I'll have a kid and that will be a nice young woman for them to look up to, you know, that are in this sport, and to show them that, you know, women can be strong and it's not scary, you know, like don't be afraid to get too bulky. But
I hate that. I hate that
so
word.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So ridiculous. But they are setting an amazing example for young girls all over the world. And I think that's definitely something to be proud of, those women.
I have a feeling you're going to be a CrossFit coach, like for the athletes, who want to go there. When you're done being an athlete, I have a feeling that's going to be your gig. I can already see that.
That, or at least on the mentality side of it, I'd love to be like the mentality coach for these people, and just help them run through some of those walls that they might have to unleash their real potential. But yeah, I'm all about it. I love it.
Well, I got to say, I am very excited, because I mean, my wife and I watched, you were the primary reason we watched every minute of the Mid-Atlantic CrossFit semifinals last year, because we wanted to see you competing. And we will be following you religiously throughout the season. But I do want to have you back in between the Open and the quarterfinals, because I want people to get a sense of what this journey is like. This journey is very arduous. It is, as you've already explained, it is very time consuming, both for you and for those around you who are supporting you in this journey. I mean, I know your husband, I know Junior. I've never met your dogs. I'm kind of excited to do that one day.
Yeah.
But this is, especially in a sport that is still up and coming, it is a tremendous compliment to you that you can stay so dedicated, and a compliment to the team and the community that you've built around yourself, that you can take this on. And I'm very excited to see you exceed what you did last year.
Thank you. Thank you
so
much.
It would be fantastic if we actually saw you in Madison and actually got to go and scream our heads off and with you in lane 8.
I got a great feeling this year.
Okay, I would knock on wood right now, but it would shake the camera, so it would look really weird. So I'm going to leave it at that. Hey, Nicole, this was great. I thank you again. You gave us an hour of your time. I really appreciate that because that's a valuable commodity for you right now. I wish you the best of luck over the next month of the Open. And then I will ping you to get your calendar once your quarterfinal is set, and then we will go from there. How's that?
Awesome. Thank you. It's my pleasure. I love talking to you.
Oh, well, fantastic. I appreciate it. I love talking to you, and I hope to do it in person again.
Yeah, absolutely.
At some point. So again, thank you everybody for watching. That is Nicole Soto. Be sure to follow all the links down below, all her social media, and check out what she's going to be doing with her new venture to help you break through any kind of barriers that you have, both mentally and physically. Now, until about a month from now, a little bit more than a month from now, when Nicole will be back on to talk about her strategies for the quarterfinals. I thank everybody for tuning in to Did You Know That? ? The channel where I get to talk to interesting people, Nicole, about interesting and sometimes annoying topics. And Nicole, until next time, you be well. And everybody out there in the ether, hit the subscribe button with the bell. You'll be notified when new content becomes available, just like this interview with Nicole. And then you'll be notified next time Nicole is on to talk about the quarterfinals. Thanks, everybody. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.